You are alive.
We are live.
We are alive. Yes, true.
Okay, let me uh, turn off all social medias that I don't need, so the speed doesn't hurt, and we will start. Let's wait for some people to join on Facebook, on YouTube.
I do hear a small beep. Can it? Maybe it's my computer actually. Oh yeah, it's okay.
Or is it possible that you hear my mouse?
No, that's a click I also hear, but it's more like a beep. But maybe it's my computer making a noise. So if you don't hear it, then it's great.
Okay, now I don't hear it, and then we can. Yes, I see myself on Facebook.
Nice.
So, ready,
Yes.
steady, go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the podcast of Lily, Tilly, and the Universe. And today we are diving into the topic about the sound of freedom. The sound of freedom and releasing addictions in order to step into the new earth. And this topic actually was inspired by the movie that was recently released. The name is Sound of Freedom. And we, with Matilda, with Tilly, Lily, and Tilly, got inspired to bring it up to the discussion of what freedom means to us and how it contributes in creating new earth. So, welcome and let's keep discussing. First of all, I would love to introduce ourselves first. And I am Coach Lily, authenticity, spiritual authenticity coach, and also an artist and a mystic who loves spiritual world, who loves other dimensions, who love connecting to the invisible information and assisting other people to do the same, to connect to the invisible spiritual aspect of themselves. And that's it for now. I could talk more and more, but now, Tilly, let's uh, introduce yourself.
Okay, I'm Tilly, and I always loved spirituality and diving into the nature of reality. And I could also talk about it endlessly. I think my main characteristic now would be that I like to sing mantras, mantra singer. Um, and yeah, to use that also to bring the vibration up of planet Earth, create more
Beau-
positivity.
Beautiful. And your background is so much reflecting what you just shared, like the light just
Yeah, it
simply around you and goes through you, and
nice.
beautiful. That's what we are sharing here on this podcast. We are sharing our light from the depth of our spirit, and that's why two ladies, Lily and Tilly, who love spirituality, is bringing those discussions to you guys. So, Tilly, what is the sound of freedom for you? How does it sound for you, freedom? What does it mean for you?
The feeling of not wanting or needing anything from life. I think we're all very used to having desire or wanting stuff like substances, which we may talk about later with addiction. Um, Yeah, and completely being able to let all of that go, being pure present, that is complete freedom. And on a more relative level, in the experience of the body mind, I would say the ability to do what you love, um, yeah, in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. Have you ever tried to release all desires of yours?
Yeah, I more and more, because first I was so obsessed with all these law of attraction theories, so I only had desires all the time. Of course, there's nothing wrong with that because that guides us in life, I think. But if it comes from a feeling of lack, you get really attached to it, and then you feel actually shit. So it's sort of balance between wanting it and not wanting it. Yeah, and in that I find the freedom. Uh, but I have to say it's getting I'm getting better at it, but still it's not always there. No. But it's an amazing feeling once you got it.
How does it
Yeah.
feel? I'm curious.
Open, relaxed, complete because you don't want anything anymore. So you feel very fulfilled. Like everything is
Mm.
great, perfect as it is already, instead of being on your way. Yeah.
So it's, as I understand, as I hear you, it's a bliss of a present moment, right?
Yeah, that's a beautiful summary for sure. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I'm asking you now those more questions because I was like, huh? No desires? Really? Like, I try to imagine how the world would look like if people would stop having desires because I'm also in that um, teachings and consciousness and understanding of the law of attraction. I'm pretty much fan of it. I just don't
Mhm.
follow all of those. I test, I try, I see, and then what works for me, I keep it. And for me, desires actually is very important personally to want something, because for me desire is a sign of expansion, like consciousness expansion, universe expansion, because if people don't want anything anymore, there wouldn't be development.
Very
From that
true.
perspective I'm looking. So for me personally, because I will say honestly, probably I never had that experience as you, the total bliss. Actually, no, I was reminded, no, I had that moment, the total bliss of the present moment. Um,
But
but at
yeah,
the back of the mind, still those desires, I believe, are necessary because. But it's important not to attach to those. At least that's my perspective.
exactly. Yeah, I think you're very right. The reason why we are here as co-creators of the creation itself is, I think, to have desires and therefore expand, or the word you used, expansion. But indeed, maybe you have a quite positive experience if you have a desire. I think for a lot of people, and also for me, it creates sometimes the feeling of lack because it's not here right now yet. And then I think it's, yeah, the wrong effect. But if you have a sort of desireless desire, then it's perfect. That's indeed what guides us in life. Um, yeah, yeah. I don't know. Indeed, if people have no desires, there would be no creation, probably. So true.
Just another thought, yeah. You know what? Looks like we have the topic for another
Yeah, you're right.
podcast, for another episode about manifestation.
Uh huh.
What it is, how it works, and do's and don'ts. So let's leave it for the later. And let's come back to the topic of the sound of freedom and addictions. Can you remind me the topic?
Yes, the having of addictions, how to release them, why they might be there, and how addiction is in relation and of importance to for creating a new Earth.
Ah, yeah, let's say like that. So let's go to the purpose of addiction. I would like to ask you, how do you think, what is the purpose of those addictions? Why people indulge into?
To escape from something, to feel better. That's that's I think the biggest, the main reason, because we always
Mhm.
want to feel good. So yeah, or to
Give
avoid
us give me
some.
some examples of addictions, so how people are escaping or avoiding, in which ways.
Mm, drinking, probably the most important of the biggest one, I think.
The most common.
Smoking. Yeah, indeed. Um, gaming for some,
Hmm.
smoking. It can be a lot. It can be from substances, but also food is an escape for a lot of people. And yeah, that's the first things I think about. But actually, you made me aware last week of very subtle ones. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why I'm asking this question because let's go wider on this because those are the most common that most people know what addictions are. But I would like to add now to step in here and to add about how that addiction works and what's the purpose. And the purpose, yeah, right, it's to escape, to run away, to avoid emotion.
hmm, yeah.
And because people don't want to face what they are feeling, they choose to silence it with those activities that bring happiness. And usually, what people don't want to face are some heavy feelings, some heavy truths that at least unconsciously they know. Because not always, actually, people are even aware why they have those addictions to begin with. But if they go deeper and work on themselves and ask those questions and go to therapy and ask for assistance, then they find out why they were running from themselves. And that's the for me personally, that's what the purpose of addictions is. Those are designed to run away from self, to disconnect from self, to abandon oneself. Because for me personally, emotions is like the inner child, like the little one who says, "Hey, I don't feel well now. Can you look at me? I need your attention." And adult version of self says, "No, no, 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 go away. I don't want to listen to you. It's you're bothering me. Let's go to drink, to smoke, to whatever, right?"
Uh-huh.
So this is how I see addiction. And also, as we came to this topic last week, it helped me to stay more conscious and aware during all days. And I realized that I started drinking coffee more often. And today I was like preparing espresso, and I'm like, wait a second, Lily. Today is a topic about addictions. You are coming back to your addiction that you left some time ago. What is it happening with you? What? Why? Because even such simple thing as lack of energy, people don't question why. Why am I lacking the energy? Where my energy gets drained? Where my focus is not on the right place where it's supposed to be? So these were good questions for me today, like reality check, and really I saw very well where I was losing my energy in all the wrong places, and that's why I needed to energize myself, not not in the natural way. So
Mm.
yeah, so those addictions also it can be, yeah, like simply coffee, Oh, sex addiction also is very probably I would say one of the strongest one because brain produces such huge amount of dopamine level that if a person feels bad about their life, feels sad and happy, that is the strongest. And I don't know how much it's easiest, probably it's not that easy to have sex on daily basis probably with anybody if somebody is not in the relationship. But mm, if somebody is indulging into that and using their sacral creative energy for sex, their body gets addicted to that emotion
Mm.
and they crave. So now actually I would like to I spoke on this topic on my TikTok account. By the way, you can find butterfly.today. And I spoke there. I explained in 3 minutes what emotional addiction is and how it's created in our bodies. So give me 3 minutes and I will share with you guys that our body is designed from cells, billions of cells. Every single cell has the capacity to create billions of receptors around each single cell. And each receptor is capable to absorb only one chemical. And what the emotion is simply a chemical. And that chemical is a hormone. So, for example, happiness hormone like dopamine, serotonin, cortisol. So, whether it's going to be happiness hormone like dopamine or stress hormone like uh, s- serotonin. I forgot the names, but yeah, so
Serotonin is also happy hormone, I think.
no, serotonin, happiness, cortisol. Yeah, cortisol is stress. So those chemicals and those chemicals produce the brain. So literally, the emotion is created in the brain. And now let's imagine that those chemicals are like meals, different meal of happiness, meal of stress, meal of sadness, right? And the brain, let's imagine as our mother who provides a certain meal to our body. And then we are our thoughts because what gives the signal to our brain to produce certain chemical is our thoughts, our perspective. So if the perspective is damaged by by the trauma, if it's not healed, then then a person will perceive the reality through the lenses of their trauma, will produce those thoughts based on the trauma, not on the um, reality. And then those thoughts, according to that perspective, will produce certain chemical into the body. So if the thoughts, for example, is you, Tilly. Now imagine yourself. You knock you come to your mom, to your brain, and say, "Hey, mom, for today, or not even for today, for this moment, please give me happiness meal."
Hmm.
Or next moment, "Hey, mom, no, give me stress. I'm hungry for stress." And the brain, the mother, gives you that meal to your body. And then what happens? Then those cells create those receptors. If you give more food, more thought produce more. If you produce more thoughts, you will you give more food into your body. It means you create more receptors. So now imagine when we have this structure, a child who's born, who's raised in a stressful environment. on constantly on daily basis she or he is exposed to stressful situations. That perspective of a child creates the thought that it's not safe, it's dangerous. That child will, when grow up, their body will be designed to have addiction to stress chemical because their
Ah,
brain, yeah, got used to
interesting. Mhm. Okay.
create
I never
create
thought
those
of it.
receptors. Yeah, and then if that receptor is like a live entity who needs food, it's like a baby, let's say, who cries for that food, please give me more of that chemical. And that's why it explains why people stay in toxic relationships, in
Mhm.
unpleasant situations like unhealthy workplaces, because their body is addicted to that experience. And the way how, should I say now? Okay, very fast I can summarize. How to heal it is time, distance, and providing different kind of experiences. Expose ourselves to different kind of experiences, so then our brain can produce different chemicals. So we redesign our body to create receptors who will absorb only happiness hormone.
Amazing. Really clear explanation.
Yeah.
I never really knew this or thought of why people keep being stuck in the same pattern, for example. I did hear the idea of rewiring your brain or changing it, but yeah, this makes sense.
But
Thank
it's
you.
all but it's all connected. It's a part of rewiring our brain as well. Because if we don't give ourselves a possibility and access to that experience that we don't want, uh, then naturally our brain will rewire because our brain will not be exposed to those unpleasant situations.
Mm, makes sense. And rewiring is then changing the amount of receptors, or how does that, or just
Rewiring.
different hormones?
So I would say it's changing how the brain works, meaning changing what kind of chemicals the brain will release.
Mm,
Will it be happiness? Will it be stress? Will it be sadness? Will it be something else? Um, yeah.
okay. Okay. Really great. Sounds a bit like a neuroscience or something. A bit difficult for me.
But
Cool.
but visually you got the picture, right?
Yes, it. I got it in the, yeah. How do you say this in English? In the big part I got.
Yes, that it's not dealing with the present moment, meaning that there is something that a person needs to do here and now in order to get something what cards show in the future, let's say like that. So what happens with a person then? Then a person, the brain, the mind gets fixated on that positive outcome, right? If it's
Mhm.
positive, let's say. But the mind is not trained to think what needs to be done right here, right now, in order to get that result. And what happens, that loop, never ending loop, that a person is waiting and waiting and
Mm,
waiting and waiting for that better tomorrow to come, while missing out on the point of life that you need to, first of all, look into yourself and understand why you even have that need to know about the future, because it already shows the sign that vibrationally something is off. And I'm talking about myself. I'm not pointing finger to anybody. That's my recent process that I'm going through. That's how I'm analyzing myself, and more feelings and emotions started coming up recently, actually, which I realized I was suppressing pretty well,
Mm.
like a master. But now life pushed me into the corner and like, Lily, no, look to that. And
Mm.
why are you doing all of this? Why are you craving to know the future? Through the future, through external validations, because we can always know the future when we connect to our heart that
Wow,
knows the future.
that's a powerful quote. Yeah. Yeah, I think I can relate partly. For me, it was with a lot of desires. I just had a lot of. I was continuing working on something towards the future, but then you are continuously in this feeling of not having it, working your way towards something, and also missing out on the beauty of the now and what you say, what life is about. Playing, I guess, in the present. But it was also an addiction, sort of, to yeah, to only be busy with thinking about the possible future. Um, so, but yeah, I got so
Actually,
annoyed with it that that it's also just now more easy to let go. Like, okay, I'm done with between quotations suffering from my own desires, basically, and thoughts, or seeking for validation. Yeah.
yeah, and actually, you pointed out very well. You reminded me about another very pretty common addiction, I would say, nowadays is uh, La La Land.
I don't know.
You don't know La La Land? You never visited it?
No,
Tilly,
I
don't
don't think
lie
so.
to us.
Is it like
You,
Fantasyland?
yes,
Okay. Yeah, then I visited a lot. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and that's a very awesome, actually, way to escape the physical 3D world and all the physical challenges that we need to face. But when it overwhelms, then when people choose, myself included, then when people choose to escape something that feels unpleasant, and that bubble of spiritual world, what is imagination, and that uh, La La Land becomes as a form of addiction.
Yeah.
But that La La Land also is crucially important to practice regularly, but not too much. It must be balanced, I would say, because that La La Land is a very important part of our manifestation. That's why I told the desires should be, in my opinion, that we should desire, and we create those desires in our La La Land when we imagine, like those children, right? We, with our open heart, we imagine how I would love, what my house I would love to have, what relationship I would love to have, how
Mm.
I would love to feel, right, in one situation and another. And that's when that La La Land helps, because, by the way, the brain doesn't recognize the difference between the reality and between the La La Land.
Mm.
Daydreaming also is one of ways to mm, redesign our physical body, our chemical makeup of our body, because we are changing, rewiring our brain by daydreaming, actually.
Mm.
And that's why it is important. But when we feed our body too much, whatever is too much, I believe you agree with that, that anything that is too much, it is indulgence. What is
Yeah. Yeah.
indulgence is addiction.
Yeah. Very true. Yeah, I think you point out clear the that it's also functional, the La La Land. But I had never heard of this term, but indeed, it feels for me like La La Land would be for me then escaping from reality in really not uh, helpful ideas for myself either. And then the part where I would visualize pure desires for really wanting to manifest something for myself, which is also fantasy. But when I was younger, I could, for example, at school when I was bored, lose myself endlessly in movie scenarios which I made up, and that I would say is not really part of the manifestation in my life. It was just like really for fun, escaping. But yes, it's all. It can be functional and it can be very useless, I guess.
Delay, but also
Yeah.
it can be it's food for some other topics. That it can be that you remembered your past lives, that you
Oh,
think that you created, but what actually was happening, you going back into other timelines.
whoa, that's trippy. I like that. That's very cool.
By the way, very fun exercise, fast exercise for everybody watching. This is something that I need to put the rights on because literally I got this as a download and I tested it and it's freaking 100%. At least so far was. So the question for everybody and for you, Tilly, when you were a child, you know those questions. Have anybody asked you who or what do you want to be when you grow up?
Yeah.
What was that?
It was always a bit vague, but I said that I wanted to go to Africa to to help or something. It was a bit strange. And the other one was being an astronaut.
So cool, vegan astronaut. How old were you? How young were you when you
Yeah, I think
had this
around 6, 7, 8 or something. I remember making
vegan
a drawing.
astronaut when you were 6 years old?
No, not vegan, but being an astronaut. Or what did you
Ah,
say? No, I didn't
I
think of being a vegan, but yeah, just being an astronaut and going to space. Yeah.
uh-huh. So you had two, right?
Yeah.
Wait a second. First was
Yeah, it's a bit now I would say a bit downgrading to say that, oh, Africa is a
Africa.
continent that's in need of help. But when I was a kid, I always had this idea, oh, I want to go there and yeah, I don't know. I drew like a plane. I remember to fly there and share love or something. But the other one was yeah, astronaut.
Okay, so
Yeah.
now I will share mine
Yeah.
also, and then I will explain why I'm asking this. When I was a kid, I had a few also wishes, ideas who I will be when I grow up. First was a nun. I wanted to be a nun for some reason.
Wow.
I have no idea why, but it just fascinated me. Second, I wanted to be a famous ballerina.
Cool.
So it means the topic of stage, of creativity. While first topic was about spirituality, second about creativity and self-expression. And yeah, those two stood out the most. And
So you think they're
though
symbols for
those are the past lives.
really?
The
But really
memory of the past life that we are recreating in this lifetime in very similar form. Probably because we didn't achieve something, didn't learn certain lessons in that area, so we are here
mm,
to repeat it. So you see now how I am. Um, I I love self-expression. I love stage. I love speaking. I love creating. I love dancing. That's what I am, who I am in this lifetime. And I am expressing myself in those creative ways. Plus, my deep craving, not even craving, it comes somewhere naturally. All of that spiritual wisdom, even when I was a child, I was speaking about the topics that adults barely could grasp actually.
Mhm.
So how a child can know all of that information without reading any single book? And
Yeah.
I am telling, I didn't finish reading neither one book. One I almost finished, but it was only one throughout all of my life.
Yeah,
Where
wow,
that
that's so much
knowledge comes from.
wisdom you you had in you already.
Yeah.
Mm.
And now when, as I say, I need to integrate it and probably use it correctly, because
Mm.
in the past I got a reading about my past life, and it validated that in the past life I was very intelligent person, very smart, but not wise, because I didn't put it into the practice. I was theoretical.
Uh-huh. Wow. And now how many, yeah, this is also another topic we could go into too long, I think. But how do you see past lives? Because eventually there is no time, like linear time, so it's all sort of lives equally playing out with one soul, if I say it correct. But it's a bit abstract concept, of course. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. We can bring it up for some other meetings of ours. Just don't forget about it. Yeah,
Hmm.
if we go now, we will dig the rabbit hole. So better not to. So, but I like that you asked it, because there are a few versions of us having past life. One that is happening here and now in different bodies, and another version also
Mm. Cool.
that different, that the past is happening now, but it's a different timeline that we are uh, in separation from. But that past, for example, the times of Hitler, it is happening now.
Yeah, it's crazy too. You cannot comprehend or something.
Yeah, but let's not go deep, let's stay on the topic. And let's, the final question then, the sound of freedom and how addictions, um, w- why releasing addictions contributes to creating a new earth. For you, what does it mean for you, addictions in the process of new earth creation, of creation of the new earth?
Um, well, I feel it's also a sort of logic consequence of the growing awareness, because you are more aware of what you do, why you do it, your daily habits. You will automatically start to reflect on why you want the wine or the cigarette or whatever. Um, so I feel when people become more aware, this is sort of a, yeah, automatic response that we will also get less addictions and be more free. Um, yeah, and I think for the love to rise on this planet, um, yeah, it's a good question. I think
Mm,
it's just inevitable with the new Earth that we will get rid of addictions, but how getting rid of addictions is necessary for new Earth, I can't really answer now. Maybe you can help me out.
yeah, it's okay. I can bring you on the road with a little bit more clarity. Um, if we discussed that addictions is a tool to disconnect from self, to run away from self, right? To,
Mhm.
and what is self? It's authenticity. So everything that we are experiencing emotionally is authentic, but when we don't want to feel our emotions, we are running away from our authenticity. So can you imagine New Earth being inauthentic?
No,
Why?
because I feel that part of a new Earth, which I envision as a world full of love, is also this awareness of the self, of your pure essence, of source, and the in out inauthenticity is more related to ego-based thinking of you and me and separation. So
Sorry, what? Authenticity is based on
no, I mean
ego?
in inauthenticity. So the opposite
In
is
authentic.
more
Ah,
based
okay.
on the you me thinking, ego and separation. So for a new world to be created full of love, unity, the awareness of self has to be present of
Mm,
our source. Um, yeah. So that doesn't go hand in hand then with being inauthentic.
yeah, yeah. I feel the same way. My vision about New Earth is from the previous episode that for me, the vision of New Earth is authenticity, pure authenticity. And what it takes for a person to be authentic is, of course, no addictions. Because, okay, first, what authenticity is for me personally is that spiritual connection, that connection to the source, to the creator, to God, to universe, call it however you want, Jesus, Buddha, uh, uh, and all the rest wise people. So for me is that connection. If I'm connected to self authentically, it means I'm connected to the ultimate creator, to the Father that in the Bible is written, as I see the Father as the ultimate creator that we all carry within us. So yeah, because if we follow the addictions and if we deliberately keep disconnecting from self, then we will keep disconnecting from the ultimate creator. And when we disconnect from the ultimate creator, how can we create?
Mm. Wow, that's a good expression or food for thought. Yeah. Or
Actually,
how
we
can we
can.
create consciously with loving intentions? Because I think we
Ye-
always create in a sense, but very unconscious most of the time. Yeah.
Yeah, we connected on this thought. I
Mhm.
immediately wanted to explain deeply, and you just told it very well. That yeah, creation never stops. Actually, we are always creating. Just a question is, are we doing it by default, or are we doing consciously? Are we creating what we don't want or what we do want? So, in order to create what we do want, we need to connect with our heart, with our feminine, because that's where the pleasant and constructive creation comes from. Because if we disconnect from our heart, then we create from our mind, and then we create a void
Mhm.
and ugly feelings and destruction and all of that jazz. So yeah, that's how for me personally, uh, why it's important to release addictions in order to create a new earth, which is based on love, authenticity, and connection and spirituality.
Yeah, sounds beautiful. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, I'm looking to the 9-9 at my
Oh
place.
yeah.
9-9. Yeah.
Yes. What a timing to check the clock.
Yeah,
Cool.
the very good confirmation about what we shared now.
Yeah.
So I see somebody joined our chit chat, our conversation, our discussion about the freedom. And by the way, people, feel free. By the way, feel free to share mm, your opinion. How does freedom sound to you? What does it mean? How does it look? How do you experience freedom? We shared from the perspective that freedom for us, for Lily and Tilly, freedom sounds like uh, being not being attached to addictions, not having a need to indulge into something that disconnects us from feeling certain emotions, meaning from experiencing ourselves in all possible ways as we are authentically, and not trying
Cool.
to cover up things that we don't want to feel, not trying to cover it up with some behaviors and indulgences that put only the bandage but actually don't heal the wound itself.
Wise words.
I think I'm done talking for today. Take a
Yeah,
lead, Tilly.
this is for me also a perfect way to end. Yeah,
Hmm. Yeah, so and also I want to just let people know that we will do more often, right, Tilly?
that's for sure the idea.
Twi-
Two times
Twice
a
per
week.
week.
Yeah, maybe not always on the same days, but yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
but we'll
but
see.
we will try to we have urge to speak, share, dive deeper and deeper.
Hmm.
So I really enjoy this.
I think already today we have now new three new topics to talk about. So
And
yes,
imagine if we would be together in my terrace or maybe your terrace,
yeah,
we would go down that rabbit hole and would explore and dig into all of those topics that arise in the moment. So
yes, yes, for
yeah,
sure.
but okay, we have some food for next meetings, and for now, I want to say thank you everybody who came, who shared, who listened, who took away something. And till the next time, dears. See you, hear you around.
Goodbye.